Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lan Lan. I'm a journalism student in Xiamen University, Malaysia. Today, I'm going to talk about the relationship between fragmented self on social media, self-monitoring, and social anxiety, the moderating role of gender. First is the background of the study. I would like to start with social media, which means applications and websites that allow us to create and share content. We use social media for various reasons, such as maintaining relationships, obtaining information, and entertainment. It influences our lifestyles in some aspects, such as online education and online shopping. In 2020, 49% of the world's population, that is 3.8 billion people, actively use social media. The bar chart on the right shows the daily usage time of social media by users in many countries. The longest one is close to 4 hours per day, and the shortest one is also 45 minutes. Habitual use of social media has become common, especially among young people. So, what is the situation in China? China has more than 1.4 billion people, and 1.3 billion people are netizens. Chinese university students aged 18 to 22 normally have multiple social media accounts and spend most of their leisure time on social media every week. Could you imagine that there are at least 5 social media platforms in your smartphone, and you need to deal with lots of information separately in different accounts every single day? Here comes the concept, the fragmented self on social media. It's the ability of an individual to switch from multiple accounts or identities. However, overuse of social media has adverse effects on the mental health, such as social anxiety. With rising social media use in recent years, the probability of social anxiety has also increased. Past study has already provided many answers to social anxiety, such as age and social comparison. But the psychological mechanism of social anxiety still remains to be explored. The current research initially considers the fragmented self as a factor that might influence SA. At the same time, self-monitoring is another factor closely related to social anxiety and also the fragmented self. But not everyone with high self-monitoring will experience social anxiety. So my research incorporates self-monitoring as a mediator and gender as a moderator. My research has 5 objectives to explore the relationship between fragmented self, self-monitoring, and social anxiety, and whether gender plays a moderating role. Next, I will share 2 theories applied to my research. The first one is pressure management. It means the strategy of controlling the disclosure of our personal information to convey our image to others. Impression management is closely related to self-monitoring, since the latter includes the tendency to use impression management and the skills to successfully conduct it. The second one is self-control theory. It focuses on how individuals understand their relationship with the broad cultural influences they live. Generally, males are considered to build and maintain independent self-control. Females are believed to construct and maintain interdependent self-construction, viewing themselves as a part of their social relationships. Impression management is selected to analyze the mediator, self-monitoring. People with high self-monitoring have various factors related to impression management abilities and strategies. However, purpose and strategies of impression management can contribute to social anxiety. Self-control theory is used to analyze the moderator, gender. Gender plays a critical role in the social media use, self-monitoring, and social anxiety. After incorporating self-monitoring as a mediator and gender as a moderator, a more comprehensive understanding of the relationship between the fragmented self and social anxiety can be developed. Now let's dive into the significance of my study. The theoretical significance includes further develops the definition and influencing factors of social anxiety and explains the mechanism of association between the fragmented self and social anxiety. Practically, for example, my research can help social media users to appropriately use social media and avoid or relieve social anxiety. Now, let us go through the literature to develop an exhaustive conceptual framework. Firstly, Hypothesis 1 presents the fragmented self as a factor that might influence the social anxiety. I will verify it from 2 aspects. Number 1. Users tend to use multiple social media accounts and platforms simultaneously. They present themselves differently in each account according to specific social situations to avoid negative evaluation. With a growing number of accounts, there is increasing pressure on people to handle their different images in others' minds. Social media users might be intensively worried about presenting the wrong information about themselves on one of their accounts. They think displaying wrong images will cause others to develop negative evaluation. This kind of worry will eventually lead to social anxiety. Number two, visiting social media occupies a large amount of young people's time. Social media users are increasingly dedicating more time to engaging with multiple platforms and accounts to meet diverse needs. However, if the intensity of personal use of social media is too high, it will negatively influence interpersonal communication between individuals and others in reality. Let us continue on hypothesis 2. It suggests that fragmented self on social media is positively correlated with self-monitoring. Nowadays, there is a growing trend to gain others' recognition and develop interpersonal relationships online. Online impression management has become increasingly important. We have discussed that impression management is closely related to self-monitoring. Due to the fragmented self on social media, users now need to handle more than one account to ensure that their online impressions always align with the requirements of different social situations. Individuals employ various strategies across their different accounts. The intensity of people practicing impression management rises, which indicates that the conduct of self-monitoring increases as well. Moving on, hypothesis 3 shows self-monitoring could be a factor contribute to social anxiety. Self-monitoring means individuals adjust their behaviors to fit the needs of society, to show an appropriate self in a specific situation. Self-monitoring can be divided into high and low levels. People with high self-monitoring will adjust their behaviors frequently according to the external social situations. They are more sensitive to social clues and use impression management more effectively. However, both the aim and some strategies of impression management can lead to social anxiety. When people hope to create a positive impression on themselves by the target online audience, but they doubt their ability to do so, social anxiety occurs. And people tend to share positive pictures and information about themselves on social media to present a better positive impression. However, it hides the negative aspects of the individual, making them cannot get beneficial social support, and this might lower an individual's mental health and lead to social anxiety. Based on these two hypothetical relationships, the current research introduces self-monitoring as a mediator to further explicate the relationship between the fragmented self and SA. This is the hypothesis 4. Now there's one more thing needs attention. Not all individuals with high self-monitoring experience as social anxiety. Gender, on the other hand, has been confirmed that has a significant association with social anxiety and social media utilization. However, past studies in different countries about gender difference in social anxiety are inconsistent. My research only focuses on Chinese university students. To better demonstrate the relationship between self-monitoring and social anxiety, gender is introduced as a moderator, which is the fifth hypothesis. And finally, we have a very clear conceptual framework here. With all the hypotheses, let us see what methodology has been used to confirm the conceptual framework. The current research is a quantitative research that applies a cross-sectional survey. The survey collects data required at a given time point rather than conducting subsequent studies on specific objects at regular intervals. Participants are Chinese university students aged 18 to 22. Decided by the software G-Power, the minimal sample size is 550, and I distribute online questionnaire to collect data in 1 month. My research applies two existing 5-point Likert type scale to measure the degree of self-monitoring and social anxiety. The scale of fragmented self on social media is extracted and summarized from 13 literature. Now comes the results of my research. The first table is the descriptive results for demographic questions, including gender and field of study. This table is the correlations between all my variables. This one is the simple linear regression to predict social anxiety. This table is the multiple linear regression to predict social anxiety. And these two tables shows whether the mediating role of self-monitoring and the moderating role of gender are valid. Those tables might seem a little bit complicated. Next, I will discuss all the results in detail. Regarding hypothesis 1, the supported results means the higher the degree of the fragmented self, the higher the likelihood of social anxiety. On the one hand, when people use multiple social media platforms simultaneously, they must process and digest a large amount of information in a short period. This may lead to information overload, which means the input system information exceeds the user's capacity to handle all the information. It can cause psychological discomfort and lead to social media fatigue. Social media fatigue can lead to pressure and social anxiety. At the same time, people hope to gain recognition from others. They may worry whether they can present their positive images to the target audience and are afraid of negative evaluation. This kind of concern might also lead to social anxiety. On the other hand, high-intensity social media utilization is associated with fear of missing out. Individuals are concerned that their friends may have a satisfactory experience without their participation. But the excessive use of social media is an important factor leading to social anxiety. Next, concerning hypothesis 2, the fragmented self on social media is positively correlated with self-monitoring. Just as what has been discussed, nowadays people pay more attention to online impression management. Due to the fragmented self, people have more accounts to run, resulting in bigger intensity of self-monitoring. About hypothesis 3, the self-monitoring is positively correlated with social anxiety. Some past studies show a reverse results about this relationship. The reason may be the research subjects are different. My research subjects are all Chinese. China emphasizes collectivism. According to the self-construct theory, individual and collectivism tend to view themselves as a part of the surrounding social relationships. Therefore, Chinese university students may place greater emphasis on maintaining social relationships with others and gaining social recognition, thus engaging in high self-monitoring. However, many students feel unconfident when carrying out self-monitoring, and social anxiety arises as they struggle to gain recognition from audience in their social networks. Also, one of China's traditional philosophies is that parents should strictly demand their children and emphasize children's obedience to parents' wishes. The purpose is generally for the future success of children. However, strictness may also lead to more social anxiety. Finally, respecting hypotheses 4 and 5, the present study does not support the mediating role of self-monitoring and the moderating role of gender. One possible factor is social desirability, which means participants choose answers they believed are more accepted by society, or the answers they guess the researchers want. In addition, previous studies on gender differences in social anxiety have not been consistent. China emphasizes collectivism. Individuals and collectivism value their social relationships and roles in society, and both men and women have a high need for self-monitoring. All of these may together contribute to preventing gender plays a moderating role. After understanding all the results, now let's look at the implications. For example, theoretically, the current research directly considers the fragmented self as a factor leading to social anxiety and obtains supportive answers. It further develops the fragmented self and links it to impression management. Practically, it's meaningful that my research can help social media users to appropriately use social media. It can also make users who are troubled by social anxiety further understand how to alleviate it. Finally comes the limitations. Self-monitoring does not function as a mediator, and gender does not play a moderating role. Reasons might include translation issues, citing some strong but early literature, and the research develops the conceptual framework based on Western literature, but conducts surveys on the Chinese culture. Scholars who are interested in this field might change research subjects or translate the questionnaire more locally. Further scholars are encouraged to propose more effective treatment plans for social anxiety, expanding the practical significance of the current research from prevention to treatment. That's all. Thank you all for listening.